Okay, today I'm going to talk about sound effects, and more specifically, how I go from something like this to something like this. Okay. Hey, let's go. All right. Okay, in this one, I'm going to talk about how I handle sound effects. It's one of my most asked questions on Instagram, and I thought I would break it down. There's sort of two main components when you talk about racing. You've got the visual side, which is cars going super fast and passing each other, all the bright colors. But the other side of racing is all about sound. The cars whooshing by, the crowds in the stands, the wonderful sounds on the pit lane. All that stuff helps build the immersive experience that is racing. But a lot of those sounds don't always translate over to the screen. So that's where sound effects come in. They make the experience more immersive and make people feel like they're actually there and not just staring at their screens. My aim is to try to make the viewer feel like they are part of the action again. I'm adding elements that are made to enhance the already existing natural sounds of the cars and the racing. I use a variety of different platforms for sound effects. There's not one golden ticket where this particular provider has great car sound effects, right? But I usually am using Artlist or the Bach Visuals sound effects pack. Those are sort of the two favorites right now. I mean, it changes, but those are my favorites right now. And so for the sake of making it easy, I'm going to use only Bach Visual sound effects packs in this particular edit. I think it's easier a little bit because he does number the sound effects. So I'll be calling out like I'm bringing 43 boom into the timeline. And that way, if you're interested in using the same sounds that I'm using, you can follow along. Link in the description if you want to buy that. Okay, sort of before we get started in all this, here's our base. Here is exactly where we're starting from. So let's get into this. I'm going to mute my music track. I always build my sound effects library by muting the music track first. So at the beginning of the edit, I have this sort of cell phone clip, and I bring out the phone from the computer screen and then sort of whoosh it down to this sort of cool edit button, right? So the first thing I'm going to need is I want a sound that sort of assists in that whoosh away from the screen. Let's see. I'm going to pull number 10, which is a bit of a deep whoosh. Whoosh. I feel like I'm saying whoosh a lot. I'm going to line that puppy up with this little cut in the scene here where I pull away from the screen. Okay, I like that. I'm going to add a little bit of suspense on the build up that sort of ramps into the main edit. I'm going to bring in this number 18, this knife's edge, because it has a bit of a click, because you actually see me clicking on the keyboard, I think it'll sort of assist in that a little bit. Gonna solo the track, put a marker where I think the impact is, line that impact up with the split in the clip. I don't want it to be quite this long, so I'm going to shorten it and sort of fade it in just a little bit. So I don't want it to last very long. Okay, back to the beginning. I think that's close, but the riser itself is a bit on the top end, so I'm going to add this number 43 low distorted riser, which is going to give me a little bit more bottom end as it ramps up. Bring that up just a little bit, shorten it up just like the other one, ramp it in. I don't want it to last too long. All right, I'm going to add this little number 9, which is a bit of a camera snap. I'm going to add that in sort of to assist in my sort of spacebar click. Find the impact point. Again, drag that over to where it actually impacts. Listen to this guy, solo it, make sure I'm lined up correctly. Okay, I like that. I got this really quick fast clip going into 3 clips of slow motion. I find I like to add a lot of sound effects when I'm switching speeds, right? So like anywhere a car flies by the frame, of course you need sound effects to add that whoosh and that impact into there. But I'm also trying to assist the viewer with realizing when I'm switching speed. So if I'm going real fast into slow motion, or if I'm going slow motion into real fast, I'm trying to build a bit of a sound stack here that assists in that change of speed. All right, I'm gonna bring in number 49, a little scratch fill. This is the 4th sound just on this first layer, right? I'm gonna bring this in as a bit of a whoosh to help assist it. I like that, but it's not quite there. It's a bit it's a bit slow, but I like how it sort of reverbs after the sound effect. So I'm gonna add number 1, the fire whoosh, which is a bit faster and more violent on the front side of that 49 scratch fill. Yeah, that gives me a lot more of a hectic into the car, into speed, where now we're racing at speed. Okay, now moving on to the second part of that of that little 1 second clip. I've got a second flash that goes into slow motion. I'm gonna pull number 7. Number 7 is one of my favorites in his pack. It's a bass impact. I'll solo this up. I'll try to find the impact point. Just line it up here. Find that impact point, and I'm gonna put a marker down. Gonna line that up where the clips split. Let's make sure we're good. I like this one because we're going into slow motion and there's a big sort of reverberating low end tail after the impact too, which is gonna be good. Sometimes on these camera flashes, I like to add this number 32, this little deep sharp piece. Just think it sounds good with these little flashes that I got on. We'll line it up. We'll find the impact point, same as always. Shorten it a little bit. A lot of risers I like to shorten. I don't like long drawn out risers. I like this number 32 for this camera flash, but I do, just like the first one, I want a little bit more low end on that riser. I'm just gonna copy this number 43, this low distorted riser. I do like it, it sounds good, but I'm lacking a little bit of impact, so I'm gonna bring this number 16, this tail synth in, and that's gonna give me sort of a boom when the slow motion clip hits in. I want a little bit of a sort of whoosh when I roll into the slow motion clips, a little bit more than that bass impact is giving me. So for the second clip, I'm gonna put this number 39 filter rhythm pan in. So I'm gonna put this number 39 clip in. I'm actually gonna slow this down. It goes a little too fast for me. I wish that the whooshes were a little bit longer in some of these cases. I make sure I don't add pitch correction, right? I'll shorten it up. Now it's gotten really long. We'll shorten that up. We'll line that up with sort of the second clip. We'll have it sort of feel like it's hitting in. We'll fade ourselves in and out. A lot of low end on this one. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit. I want a little bit more. Okay, I'm pretty happy with everything so far. I think we've got a good sort of first 4 seconds. Now I'm gonna focus, so I've got these 3 slow motion clips, but then I go right back into normal speed, right? I do like coming in and out of slow motion to normal speed. So I need something, I have another camera flash there. I need something to sort of ramp me back in super quickly to that speed, like a really fast sort of ramp in. To sort of build my base here, I'm gonna put another low distorted riser, line that puppy up. I don't want it to be long. I want it to feel a little bit more like a riser for a whoosh, so I'm gonna make it really short. That's good. Okay, I like that. Now I need to build the whoosh part of it. I really like these first 2 that I used a little bit earlier. All right, I liked that fire whoosh, that number 1 that I used earlier. It's really fast and a bit punchy, so I'm gonna actually just duplicate that, drag that guy over. Shorten some of this stuff up. I want to use this bass impact again as well. I don't want it to drag on. These impacts that tail really far, I don't want them to drag on because it does drown out some of the other sound effects that we'll put in. So I'm going to shorten it up. Let's hear that. Slow motion. Okay, I think that does add a lot of what I'm wanting here. All right, I have this clip here where this Porsche zooms by and the Porsche audio is really pronounced. So I'm gonna bring this, I'm gonna double this 49 and 1, the scratch fill and this fire whoosh. I'm gonna sort of copy those back over. I've got them both marked, bring those in where the Porsche flies by, so I've got some nice impact there. Let's hear that. I like that, I like that. This the Ferrari hypercar audio, when it's coming at you like this, is not very big, is not very pronounced. So I'm gonna add a little bit of a slow whoosh. I'm gonna copy that number 39 that I already slowed down 50%, that filter rhythm pan, and I'm gonna put that into assist to make it feel like the car is sort of moving a lot of air as it goes by me. just not a lot of car audio there, and it feels a bit empty. It feels like we lose it a little bit. So more or less just sort of adding this for some filler. All right, from there we get into the Merc, this yellow Merc that's at the last turn at Indianapolis. It gets super close to us. It's sort of also, it's right against the stands, which is all metal. So there's like a lot of reverberation in the sound. So we're gonna add this. That's the kind of stuff where this number 7 bass impact really does well for me. And I want a little bit more just sort of punch and impact at that very last part of the clip. So I'm gonna add another one of these fire whooshes. Just not as much impact with that bass piece. It's a really nice low end, sort of tailed off piece, but I need a little more impact. Let's hear that. Solo these guys up, make sure I'm good with the car audio. Okay, nice. I'll do a lot of the same to finish off the edit. I'll use some of the same sounds I've used, I'll add some new ones, but most of the process stays the same. Just to recap again, this is where we started. And after a few clicks and some sound effects later, this is where we ended up. I hope you liked this one. It was more of a guide and walkthrough about how I handle a specific project instead of just a bunch of tips on the screen. I didn't know if that was more helpful or not. You'll have to let me know. If so, I'll do plenty more like this. Color, how I edit, sound effects, whatever you'd like. So feel free to let me know. Feel free to check other videos out on my channel. You can check me out on Instagram as well. That's where I have a lot of this content. But that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one.